Alright, things are moving. I don't know if you can hear that cat. Yeah, I actually forgot to put on music, so. One second, let me get some music up in here. I meant to do this yesterday, and then I fell asleep at random, and then I just woke up, and I'm like, well, I can't do it today. And then I just fell back asleep for like 6 hours. A day that I was not expecting to be as tired as I was. For anybody that shows up late, whatever. So, should be going pretty easy. Wanted to do a little bit later of a stream since no chapters this week. I mean, for the most part. I mean, it was, I guess I was going to say 100 Years Quest chapter, but that's this Tuesday, which is entering a new week. So I guess that is in reality a new week. So nothing this week except for 4 Nights and Eden Zero. And they had some pretty solid chapters this week. But I wanted to do another tier list one, and obviously not having gotten to anything with the antagonists yet. Well, I did like the rivals, and I did like the main characters, but I don't think any of them were like fairy tale focused, like very specifically. In like the same way of like doing a whole bracket of characters for it. Future Rogue isn't above Josei, all on sub. Wait, if he isn't lower than Josei, why would you rank Josei over Future Rogue though? Like, the weird thing about Josei is, like, he's never, like, none of the more kind of, like, bad characters, I'd say, like, villain characters of Phantom Lord ever really make a return. Like, the closest is, like, Todomaru. You just see what he looks like after the time skip. Arya, Monsieur Soul, and Josei never really make an appearance again. What's up, Sinedria? How are you doing? Bud, how are you? Read Mashal. I would agree. Definitely read Mashal. It's good stuff. Actually, I was going to say new chapter tomorrow, but there is not a chapter tomorrow. Tomorrow there are no Shonen Jump chapters because of the Olympic break. So we got to wait another week, and then we'll start getting that again. One second. Let me open up the stream on one of my monitors, and then I will tweet out the stream, and we'll get ready for the rankings and trying to get everybody set for each of these. Surf at the tippy top. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's the obvious is gonna be like at the obvious place. I'll just put out the stream really quick. I'll just put ranking. I'll just make it really basic, pretty much. Ranking fairy tale antagonists. I'll just put tier maker stream. Excited for new chapter on Tuesday. There we go. I'll just give it a really very plain kind of like post out, so it doesn't so at least can get out there, but it's not anything too much. And then we will get to the comments. You guys just stack it up, and then I'll be able to get to anything before I get to before I get to actually start moving stuff. Kane better be in GOAT tier. I mean, Kane's definitely entertaining. I don't know about GOAT tier. Is the anti-magic loser on here? First off, Yuka's a good lad. I didn't put Yuka on here. I mean, like, Yuka's kind of just like a short opponent. I wouldn't even consider him really that much of an antagonist. Because none of the, like, Yuka, Toby, and Sherry, like, they're, I don't know, they're like weird, like, little minions of Leon, or I got Leon, but it's like, I don't really know if I'm gonna put anybody of barely antagonist like specifics. It would be like counting Dobengal for Sabretooth. I just didn't really want to do anything with that, and I didn't count. I mean, I know Orca was like on the like lead team, but I didn't put Orga on here. I didn't put Rogue either, like old Rogue, or I guess first Rogue that we got, not future Rogue, because like normal Rogue wasn't really much of an antagonist, even in his role as like on an opposing team for the Grand Magic games. He didn't do anything that, he never had like a spot that really like made him seem like he was going to be a big bad guy of it. Obviously the plot twist being a bit different, but it'd be like counting Orga, where it's like Orga really didn't have anything. Orga was kind of just there. Came for the Opie is good. Always a plus. Can Spirit Dive Fuego dismember the entire Silver Family? That's gonna really depend. I mean, like the stuff with Spirit Dive being available potentially to Fuego now is a really potentially big general increase to his power. It's gonna depend on what Tabata does, because it's such an easy way for Fuego just to jump a massive amount higher than where he's like we think he's at least. Has it had more impact on the guild, especially Lucy's feelings on her place there? I mean, that's more of like the events on there. Jose, like as an individual, didn't really do anything about it. Rogue felt like a filler. I wouldn't say that about Rogue. Daphne better be... No, Daphne is definitely going to be in a bad spot. I don't know half the people. Well, hurry up and get caught up, bud. What are you doing? Are you including filler villains like the Eclipse Spirits? I just included Eclipse Leo because I know that they were enemies, but like most of the conflict with the Eclipse Spirits weren't even really fights. They like some of them were more of like puzzle kind of like opponent scenarios. Kind of like what Rebecca's doing right now with Lyra and Eden Zero. Like it's not nearly as much of a big battle, whereas like you just got to figure out how to deal with your opponent. I didn't put like Eclipse. I'll never be able to pronounce the name. Officius or however, big snake lady. I put Leo on there though. Can Gray similarly to not to obtain an Ice Demon King mode? I mean, potentially. As far as we know, the only thing about Fire Dragon King mode is just a very buffed version of his regular Dragon Fire. I would assume anybody who, like, given that as the case, could achieve just, like, pretty much a more powerful version of their own state. Because it's not the same thing, obviously, just by wording, but it's similar in concept to, like, what White and Shadow Drive were, where it's just a general boost to your base attribute. It's clearly of a much higher amount than what Sting and Rogue can do, and I would guess that it's legitimately a higher like whatever the application of the form is. I would guess it's never outright stated that how White and Shadow Drive work. I always just assume that part of it has to do with having the Lacrima of the same dragon attribute that you already had, but like Fire Dragon King mode is just different in a... It's different from a standpoint of obviously like its naming and like its general output, but it's similar in concept. Like I said, it's just buffed version of where of what power you already have without it being Dragon Force. Max is going. I'm okay. Jackal and A or B. Jackal will get a pretty fair ranking. Zerf isn't number one. Zerf will get treated very fairly. Hot Eyes go. I've always liked Hot Eye too. Gray's way above Mira. Yeah, I know. Lucy's are the Opies I need. Lucy's not on this list whatsoever. Karen Lee's old mistress is more evil than Logie. That's weird. I don't know about that. She's just a piece of shit. Golden question: can anyone? How strong is Gray really? I mean, Gray's fair Spriggan level. I mean, we at least know that. We at least know he's at a fairly. He's at least somewhere between like the middle and like that area before they get to like Larcade and stuff. Larcade, August, Irene. Latest Inzer was good. Yeah, it looks pretty solid. One thing I just wanted to mention before we get to the tier list, I saw some people talking about like Rebecca, like having like the fight with Rebecca and Lyra, and then it seemingly shifting to Sylph. The thing about Rebecca versus Lyra is from the standpoint of her doing like a tricky game, like she can contend with it, but Lyra should still be powerful enough to be, to be at her rank as an Ocean. And we know Rebecca has like the best ether gear, but she's just the least experienced with it, and she's not nearly as much of a fighter as like the rest of the the characters are, not yet at least. That's the thing. Like her whole thing and her whole setup around it is that she has this absurdly OP ability, but because of the fact she literally just got it not long ago in the story, that she just is very inexperienced and hasn't gotten the same level of grasp on it that a bunch of these other characters have. The God Slayers got done dirty. I mean, that's true. Racer is cool. I'd like to see him again. I also like Racer. I mean, you could watch the anime, the first Denmark with the clip or the Starry Sky, or you can wait Jackal S tier. I don't know about it. Is Ongsaram on this list? If I had a picture of Ongsaram, I would. I'm not putting a question mark. Mishima didn't seem to care much about Godslayers. He's never cared about Godslayers. I mean, they got kind of shafted. But anyway, let's get to some of these. I'll pick somebody out of here first. I'll try and pick somebody fair. Because I don't want to start alphabetical, considering Akame is literally first up. But let me look at the list. Who would be a good person to start this? Let's pick... let me just look around. Let's go with Rufus. So Rufus, I always thought Rufus was one of the more not in D. Rufus is like one of the more underutilized characters I felt like in Grand Magic games. Like his role was never extended to where he should have had like some extra position, like somewhere up like near Sting and Rogue or Minerva, or like people who were obviously having way more front row spot. But I feel like the thing about Gray's defeat of Rufus, it was still really cool, but Rufus didn't have a whole lot beyond being like a really tricky wizard, being somebody with like a really, really good magic. And we don't know really anything about him whatsoever. Like we never really get anything from Rufus that makes him more of a character than he's initially displayed. And I don't know if it's just because like Mishima made him so powerful at the start. I mean, he's got one of like the better magics in the series when you really think about the capabilities of Memory Maker. You can copy other people's magic, and anytime you copy one of their spells, you have the ability to just completely cancel it out after they cast it, and you can combine magic into making more. I think that he is like a really good spot like to start with, just to put it B, because like I said, he's got solid presence in the arc he's in. But he doesn't have anything that's really kind of like super standout. Everything about Rufus's character and how he was presented was just around solid. But combined that with like his design, his magic, he got some really cool displays of his magic as well. And he, was one of the opponents for the main cast, that being Gray. He sits like in a good solid B like tier out of all of them. I think Rufus has a very good middle ground position. Nothing crazy, but you can just enjoy him for what he is, kind of thing. Kind of like what Bacchus was before Mishima kept bodying Bacchus. Let me see another person. Juvia. So Juvia as a villain. Oh, well, more of an antagonist, obviously. Like, she was never even acting like, get out of the way. She was never even, like, evil in the Phantom Lord arc. She had, obviously, some pretty, like, sweet, like, quick, aggressive moments, like waterlocking Lucy and being one of the people that directly take her hostage. But she never had, she never had anything really evil about her. She never did anything, like, kind of that crazy. And I don't think there was anything really for Juvia's character that stood out that much, other than like she had a cool first moment with Gray, but Juvia at the time of when she was an antagonist, she didn't really have anything to really stand out. And I think that Juvia as a character, like full story, would be like way higher up. She's got a lot of development, especially her dual stuff going on with Gray, like the stuff between them, as well as obviously like how different she is as a full-scale individual since her introduction, and obviously her relationship with people in the guild. Antagonist-wise, she's, like, decent, because she was able to get the job done. Like, they got sent out to go after Lucy, they got the job done. She clearly has pretty fair magic. She's got the whole presence when she will affect the weather and make it rain. You're gonna come back, Ashura? Whatever you gotta go get done, man. Rufus can't beat Real. Rufus would beat Real pretty quickly. He would just keep canceling out Real's paintings and then just like spam spells at him. Arc of Embodiment is very similar to Memory Make. It's somewhat similar. The thing about Arc of Embodiment is you're the one thinking of them. Like, you essentially just have that ability of just, not creation, but like to a degree of it, because obviously you're creating things based off of your imagination. Whereas Memory Make, it's more of like an advanced type of copying magic. Because Arkham Embodiment, you logically wouldn't have to see anybody else's magic. You just make your things from scratch. You know? It's like the difference between making your own creation versus just like just going out and taking a bunch of pictures of something. One doesn't need anything to kind of start it off, whereas one you have to find it. Like logically speaking, if you were a memory maker wizard, you would probably have a period of time where you have to go out and find people casting spells to memorize, because if you have to memorize the spells, you have to find somebody using them in the first place. It's almost like the Pokemon of magics, really, when you think about it. Ivan? You want me to Ivan? Okay, Ivan, where is he? Where's Ivan Dreyer? The most unfortunate, probably, person on this list. Ivan is deep trash tier. This isn't even up for debate. Ivan never really did anything of value. He's the weirdest character in the story for me, from a standpoint of Mishima's decisions. Because, like, some of the characters that, like, I would have preferred him if he took this character and did it a different way. Minerva's a good example. I always wish that Minerva stayed in her climb to evil, but it was never something that was required, and it was something that was obviously more of, like, my opinion based of a scenario versus, where she actually was going to go. We found out stuff about, like, her from Gienma during Tartarus, and it gave sense to why she acts the way she does, but it was still a pathway that I would have preferred if she kept going down the dark one. Ivan, though, is so confusing, because whereas, like, when you have those characters that you see them and you wouldn't expect them to be more important, more valuable, maybe someone like Mavis, but Ivan, just first seeing Ivan, you would expect that he's going to have way more relevancy in the story, but he doesn't. It's really odd. He's almost got, like, nothing really to display. He's got one of the, like, most confusing lines in the whole series when he says that the Raventail team, he says, like, he's gathered anti-fairy tale wizards, but it's like there's nothing really that alludes to say, like, what did you mean by this? How are these guys anti-fairy tale wizards? Raventail was just like a miss as a whole. Like, the best thing that came out of them was Flare. I mean, I like Flare, but really when you compare pretty much every other bad guy group, I mean, even Sylph Labyrinth, the treasure hunting guild that were barely a thing even in mention, because like when we first got them, they just had Drake, Rala, and oh god, what's that guy's name? Hiroshi, I think is his name. The gun dude. Because Sylph Labyrinth had Warred, Hades, and Yuri all from there, like Breach, and all these guys, like big characters. They directly had members that associate in a big way in the story, whereas Raventail is just kind of there. Like, Raventail exists. Nothing really special about Raventail whatsoever. I look at Fairy Tail, a lot of antagonists. Yeah, I left some of them out. And if I really wanted to, I could have went into some of the other spinoffs, like Laxus' spinoff, Gajil spinoff, the Twin Dragon spinoff. Why are people getting mad in the comments? I see a bunch of block messages. What's the problem? Man, I got no mods here. Where's Bud? Bud, I'm gonna mod you in chat. Hang on. Hopefully, Bud can keep the chat under somewhat control. I gotta give him this responsibility. Isn't that Lax's dad? Yeah, Ivan's a loser. We don't like Ivan here. Yeah, Memory Make Magic is really OP. It's like I said. It's like it's like Pokemon. Like, really, you have to go out and journey to find stuff in the first place in order to make that one OP, whereas like Arc of Embodiment, it's OP from the start. I think Ivan and Raventail originally supposed to be antagonists concerning Fairy Heart. I mean, that's true. So I thought also they were going to be involved in... So I think initially they were going to be involved in Sirius Island, just based off of some pieces that Mishima probably had a better idea, just said to switch it. Let's go with another one. Blue Note. Blue Note, I think... I see Blue Note a little bit higher up than Rufus. Let me put him over Rufus. Because he ties to some really important events. He was this surprise boss, this overwhelming character that just kind of popped up when people were a little bit worn out. And we saw him going up against Gildart, so we saw... You know that he's a threat. He's got, like, really cool magic. He's Like he's an all around just this surprise character to a surprise arc, and I think all these things bundled up, he it gives him on top of that a little bit of extra boost because of the fact that he's got that thing like Zero where he doesn't have to be that complex of a bad guy, but in that area of being this overwhelming bad guy, that piece is committed. Like you commit to that one, so it's like even if this guy doesn't have anything crazy to like his character in terms of personality or something or backstory, you know that he's not just gonna like topple over the second like that characters push back against him. You stick with that whole thing of him being this like extreme powerhouse, and I always appreciate that of Blue Note thematically. Like his scenes are really cool. His I love his design. I've actually always been a big fan of his weird design. I think it's that like military cloak that he's got. I've always thought it was really cool. Daphne, yeah, let's look at Daphne. Daphne is the worst. I'd say she is the worst character probably on this list. The thing about Ivan, at least, is Ivan relates to Laxus. He relates to a lot of things that are important and a lot of things that people care about. And he gave a really satisfying scene when Laxus just runs through him like a train. Where Daphne's arc isn't good. Daphne's design, like she funny enough when you think about the placement in the series where her arc is, it's right before Edalus, which means the anime added a robotic dragon-like opponent right before a robotic dragon-like opponent, and she comes off as a much weaker and inferior version, which I always thought was kind of funny. There's nothing really to come out of her arc outside of, if you're a Gajil fan, you get an extra secret, another Dragon Slayer ultimate attack from him. And if you're a Juvia shipper, then you get like a scene with that. But outside of that, there's really nothing to... There's nothing to that arc. Like, it's really a specific one if you are a fan of specific characters getting just additional content. It's like how in Starry Sky Arc, there's two different Mira Jane fights. Like, if you're just like enjoying the arc, the fights themselves are entertaining, but neither of them are really that crazy. Whereas if you're a Mira Jane fan, just getting all that extra content is going to be like it's going to be just really good from that standpoint. They're going to be enjoying that extra piece of that character. That's all I can really see from that arc. If you're Gajil or Juvia stan, like you get a smidgen extra of just general content. That's all you're really getting from multiple episodes, and the rest of it, like the story of it, is kind of silly. Daphne's not a very entertaining character. She sucks. I thought her design, you'd think that she'd be like a silly ally of the guild. Like, if there was gonna be a character that's kind of like poor Yushika, but like for the newer generation of fairy tale, I would have suspected Daphne just based off her design. But she's obviously nothing like that, and she just gets locked up after arc. What's funny is we don't know really like what she's been up to in this series. Like, she was locked up for years, and then when you see there's like a scene at the very end of like the anime where they for some reason put her in a moment, and it's like it's been like 8 years. How did she get out, and what's she been doing? She just been wandering around. Oh, my cat's smacking the hell out of my keyboard. Excuse me, I'm streaming right now. I'm talking to the people. Macbeth would actually, he'll probably get a good one. Where is he? Where's old Midnight? So, because Midnight has the luckiness of having two different bad guy parts. Because you have the initial one in Raston Sace, and you have the Starry Sky arc. I actually always liked Midnight. I thought he was really neat when he first showed up. He was, on the magic carpet. He was asleep. Spells are out there just bending around him. He looks weird. One of the art styles I wish Mishima would bring back. If you go back and look at the fight when Urza was like in his illusion and stuff, he has like this attack in his hand, and it has this really weird, almost kind of like this weird, like thorny, jagged, like bramble style to like the energy that he's got. And I always thought that was just really neat to look at. Oh, thank you for the $5 super chat, Jake Miller. Jajil, you mean Gajil? I can't tell if you mean Gagiel or if you mean Agiel. Just as a side note, as I'll share, just because it's related, obviously, to this, is initially in the fan translations, Agiel's name translated to Azir, and it sounded way more. Oh, I gotta wait for the thing to go off. You just busted a nut. There we go. It sounded more exotic, and it made him stand out more. Obviously his name being so close to Gagiel is one of the things. Like, I feel like in Japanese, like in kanji and stuff, it's gonna look way different, or at least different enough that it's easier to say or tell which one someone means. But with literally just one letter off, I can definitely see in this scenario like where I could get easily confused. I don't know if you're trying to say one or the other. I still wish Mishima gave him a slightly more different name, but we will get to Gagiel for sure. Midnight comes back. There's a part where that he exists again. I won't spoil it or say anything about it, but like that's the Erasion Sace. If you watch the anime, you'll see them again at some point. Midnight, I'd put him probably about right here. Maybe between Rufus. I always like the stuff with him and Zero, though. Like, all his ties to Zero and, like, Brain and whatnot. As well as pretty much making sure the full effect of Genesis Zero is in the canon. Like, you can argue the one that was shown in the Natsu and Zero fight in the anime, but the Starry Sky arc is canon, and it's literally the same effect in that arc. So, just added that extra little layer to him, that extra little assurance to the spell to keep it inside of the canon. Yeah, Blue Note was cool. Gildart said to fight him. Yeah, Blue Note, I always liked Blue Note. I'm always a fan. Zagreed versus Rufus. Kotodama versus Memory. What do you mean? Rufus Kotodama. That's not his last name. And obviously, Rufus can't beat Zagreed. Zagreed's too powerful for him. You do have Sting and Rogue together? Yeah, I have. I was wanted to go with like a different style for like Sting and Rogue. Let me find them on here. Where are they on this list? Let me see. Got Panther Lily, Zancro. So I remember I was doing something specific with Sting and Rogue. Oh, thank you for the $5 colors. How do you feel about Celestial Spirits being the main antagonist of an entire arc? I like the idea because it by itself was a world building aspect to it, because we found out something about the Eclipse Spirit, or the Celestial Spirits that added to Celestial lore, and it was shorter than the other anime arc. I think it's a couple episodes shorter, but I think it was pretty cool, and I like seeing more about the Celestial Spirit world. That's something that we never really got a whole lot of. We've been there, but we never saw a... Oh. You just busted a nut. Thank you very much. Do I not have Sting or Rogue on here? I remember saving them. Man, hang on. Let me see. Do I not have Sting on here? That's unfortunate. I got Sugar Boy, I got Suzaku. Oh shit. Well, that's funny, as I knew there was gonna be a character that I forget about. I knew there's gonna be somebody that I just completely slipped my mind. It's funny that I forgot Sting and Rogue. Well, I guess Rogue. I mean, I put Future Rogue. I didn't put normal Rogue. I could have sworn I saved a picture of Sting on here specifically. I could have sworn I had Sting. That's kind of funny. Oh, I got a new subscriber, the Silencer09. Thank you very much, man. Do I really? That's upsetting to me. It's funny. Like I remember the same thing. Like when what was the last one I did? When I did main characters, I forgot. I think Yusei, and then I did like Black Clover waifus. I forgot Dorothy. I almost always forget one character specifically, and it's always one that it's like, how did you forget this character? I can't believe I forgot Sting. Anyway, I'll just keep moving. We'll move along. Should be fine. I'd probably give Sting somewhere around like a high B to an A. Maybe like a B, because like Sting's value wasn't a bad guy. It was like him not being a bad guy in the end, I'd say. So probably more like a B. He had more value though than Midnight and Rufus, I'd probably put Sting at like the front of B so far. Forgetting Midnight's a guy. He's just an androgynous guy. Lucy's landlord should be in there. Nah, she's nice. Like, she's proven to be a nice lady. Let me find somebody. Alright, we're gonna get Lullaby. Let's just do Lullaby. You know, this is a D. This is a D. This is a character whose literal existence is pretty much just being threatening. Just being like, hey, I'm the first... Because not even being threatening, rather, as just kind of like appearing threatening. Lullaby never really accomplished much. Like, Lullaby's whole existence was just in showing off the main cast in their first role display. Show Natsu, Lucy, and Urza all just kind of going after an opponent at the same time. But nothing really that was going to be... Nothing that was going to really push the main cast, especially because we knew that at that time, Urza was way more powerful than Gray and Natsu, so that fight is really not that crazy when you think about it, like, going back. It's just not... It has absolutely no like weight, like when you go back to certain events. It's not like one of those ones where you realize, like, man, this character was really outgunned. Like the reality of like Elfman and Evergreen when they ran into Xerath and how dangerous, like, of a situation they were in when you think about it later on. Whereas, like, Lullaby clearly wasn't that much of a dangerous guy. Let's get somebody who I personally would rank pretty well. Where is Jackal? Let's find Jackal in here. Jackal, I put Jackal to me is like bottom A tier. Like, he is a... I want to put a bad guy into my series. And when you say like a bad guy, you mean just like an absolute awful individual. He's a mass murderer. He's fine with like murdering pregnant women. There's nothing good about him as an individual. He's somebody that just shows the vile side. Like, yeah, you can, you know, there's going to be some dangerous guys out there, some people who are outright just despicable. And he fulfilled that role. He does a really good job at that, and just showing that he is a menace and that he's really dangerous. And he'll be fine killing, and like showing the level of threat that Tartarus was, you know, bringing in. I like the Celestial Spirits know much more about Earthland and its history compared to what they show they know. I mean, yeah, they have stellar memory. Like, they can find out more information. Did Kagura survive the Tower of Heaven arc? No. Because I saw that Alice carrying her in the anime. I mean, if that's in the anime, I don't remember that in the anime, but that's definitely not the case. She probably died somewhere between the 7 years. No, she died in that tower. She absolutely died in that tower. She's wearing the same clothes. Let me see. Okay. Let's get a good guy. Let's get Hades. This is S. Hades is like one of the biggest immediate flexors that come in, that like you get in a series. He's threatening. He has like this extremely impressive track record of just like his accomplishments and his impact. Like, he's definitely fitting of the first big super boss of the series. And I'm obviously not counting Acnologia, but like the first giant opponent that like they really had to come across and like overcome. Hades, I love his moveset. Like, for the most part, he doesn't have anything absurdly crazy, but obviously he's got like stuff like he can cast Repent. And he's not as fast as Xerath with it, but he can set it up to use it. And then he's got like his cool chains, he's got his bullet magic, he's got Nemesis, he's got Grimoire Law. Like, he's got a lot of really sick just general moves. His design is cool. He's also really big. That's one of the things that always gets kind of skipped over. He's tall. He's actually way bigger in the first times we see him. Like, when we first get his silhouette, he looks like 2 to 3 times bigger than like he actually is. Because you see Ultir standing while he's sitting, and his knee is like bigger than she is. Like, it's really weird. I might be exaggerating that a little bit, but you know what I mean? Like, he just looks way bigger. Oh, one of Fairytale's best battles. Yeah, Hades was sick. Hades is always going to be remembered. It's just like one of those badass dudes who like carried everything that he had to say and everything that he had to kind of claim. Like he was ready to back it up and really put out some power there. Who next? Let's talk about. We just talked about Ikaruga, so we'll go to Ikaruga. Ikaruga, I think she's about here. I think she's around like the same, because she's kind of like what the same thing for what Blue Note was to Guildarts, but at the time, but for Urza instead. She's kind of the same general character, not in personality, but like the type of opponent they're gonna call. This is somebody that they gotta do everything they can. Urza's was a little bit more so because if Guildarts hadn't been drained a little bit, he wouldn't have had nearly as much damage, I think, coming out of his fight, whereas Urza had to pretty much press through everything that she could in order to take down Ikaruga. And I really like Ikaruga's design. I think she looks really cool. She's got a very simplistic yet effective ability. Like, her sword is just like this super cutting sword. She's got some techniques to it, but she's able to do it to the point where she's cutting through pocket dimensions. So obviously very OP, very strong ability. Just going to be slicing up people. She just kind of mowed down through Urza's armors too. And she was the first one to really do that. Like prior to her fight with Ikaruga, Urza didn't have any like crazy matches. Like even with Arya, it was more of like she just had to kind of like put in more effort than what we're used to for, and she just plowed through. Whereas with Ikaruga, like she had to overcome where she was at to defeat Ikaruga and put her down. Alderaan Goat. I really like Alderaan. I'm hoping that I can raise him up in my ranking of characters in the series. If we can get a flashback on him. If we can get a flashback of him when he went to go confront Acnologia, or like right afterwards, that would be like, that's all I really need from him, because he's like that same way of Zero and and somebody like Blue Note, where he's committed to being overwhelmingly powerful and just being like an evil, destroying bad guy. Like, he's just a monster. But we could get more of who he is, and obviously see more of like the dragon side to him, and what it was like when he went to go confront Acnologia and following it, seeing his response to all that. That could really add to his character, and it's in a really simple way, because like we know that he went back 100 years. Like, Acnologia started saying 400 years. Like, for the most part, there's like 8, 9, 10 plus years, just like little bits all accumulative over time. But 400 or so years prior, Alderaan said he got hurt, like he went to go fight him and then got hurt 300 years ago. So 100 years of hiding from Acnologia, and then at some point he decided to go after him. It'd be really interesting for his character to see what it was like for that. It's like for Ignia, I'm really hoping for Ignia we could see from his standpoint, from his perspective, like as like a little tiny kid dragon, what it was like when Acnologia was on its rampage. Like from a child's perspective, how he viewed Acnologia just going on this big genocidal rampage, this big campaign of murder. Fun fact, in Fairytale Zero opening, there's a scene where they have young Hades, black hair, talk about a big error. I mean, they mess up his hair, it's not a big deal. It's, I think that's what, I think it's just because, like, at the time of, he hadn't had an official color, or, like, they just messed up. There are some things that are different. I forget all the time that Jalal's eye tattoo is supposed to be black. And you can look at other series, like in Bleach, Rangiku is actually blonde in the manga, not redhead. Oh, Ikaruga and Crime Sorcery would have been nasty, dude. She would have been scary. Like close to Jalal, where you can kind of scale her up, because she's OP. Like she just had this really broken sword. But I mean, like running into people now, like if she could try to go up against like Kiria or Suzaku, like you can't have too many swords folks who just have that like want to cut everything move. I mean, Suzaku doesn't have that same wording to like how he talks, but I feel like just where he's at, he would completely overlap anything that they can do, and it would just kind of like apply to him as well. Let me pick out another person. Let's see. Nightwalker. Nightwalker was really cool. I'm gonna put her above. I'm gonna put her above Jackal. She was just this really extra weird twist on Daedalus. Like, Daedalus has always been a really weird arc to me, because it feels like an anime arc, but obviously it's in the manga. I mean, it's obviously like super canon. It's directly inventive of the main story. It's not like an additional thing that is canon, like some of the anime arcs or some of the spin-off volumes. It is in the main series. It is canon. It is tied to direct events. But Daedalus has always felt, like I said, like an anime arc to me, because it doesn't really have anything that relates to a lot of like the bigger stuff with like the Dragon Slayer plan, Acnologia, Zeref, and like all that stuff. I was really happy that 100 Years Quest was able to connect it to a degree with like stuff with Celine, but it was always one for me that I was kind of like never the biggest fan of. Nightwalker, like, she's like the best thing I'd say like about that arc besides like the Dragon Slayer fight. Like, she was just this nice twist. Like, you had Fairy Tail on the run and everything, but you had Nightwalker as an antagonist. I thought she was just really cool. The Urs versus Ursa stuff was really badass. I really liked that, and I know most people do. And it's funny because I understand why some people are salty over the fact that like where Nightwalker is in 100 Years Quest now, because now she's like a super maid for she's just like a super maid for Mystical Gun. And it's like, obviously, like, she was a badass before, but I'm just happy that like when characters kind of like move along with their life, if what's best for them, kind of like Demaria, it's just something for me. I'm like, she's enjoying herself wherever they're at, and obviously they had to live with no magic, so I'm sure that she's she could be way worse off, pretty much. I like to say Demaria would be a top wizard swordswoman. I mean, if she actually like did sword stuff, I mean, as far as we know, she just uses a sword. Bud, keep reading. How are you not through Daedalus yet, my guy? Does Clodia's brain staff scale dilution? No. He yelled to Soul against Haru. But that's a crossover verse. Like, when crossover series happen, you don't even remotely keep them, like, they're not even remotely set up for logical scaling. Like, it's kind of like their own thing. Like, those versions are one in their own weird timeline. I wouldn't even consider that crossover really the crossover timeline, considering it's one chapter, and Heroes is its own continuity. And Mishima said that he plans on doing a sequel, and unless that sequel just straight resets everything, which I doubt it will, then that's obviously the crossover timeline you can really refer to. Because even in that one, Haru didn't have all his swords. He wasn't using Revolt, and he didn't have Revolt. Because one of the weird things about Heroes is Haru's swords are slightly different, and he has Revolt, but he still has Eyes and Meteor as well, which is weird. Because on top of that, he still has, like, he uses, Revolt becomes his base sword. But for some reason, it's not like that, and again, also has Ice and Meteor for who knows what reason. So it's like it's a different timeline. And on top of that, you have the really weird part of that whole setup when you try and logically get a gauge on power levels is Natsu and Shiki at that last attack were both like in base, whereas Haru had Revolt out, which was like one of the weirder things. Like, he used his strongest sword, whereas like Natsu like wasn't in Dragon Force and Shiki wasn't even in Overdrive. But again, it's also just crossovers. Like, there's that Dragon Ball One Piece Toriko crossover, and you have Zoro fighting with Vegeta and Zebra, which is absolutely ridiculous, obviously. If you wanted to look at it from continuity logic of power levels, it's just kind of that same thing, where power levels aren't going to play the same consistent layout in a crossover. Top swordsman in Fairy Tail. Right now, it's Suzaku. Man, you gotta read. You're like right at Daedalus, bud. Okay, let me get some more of these things. I would have preferred if Grey beat her. Wait, for what? You meant for Nightwalker? I don't know about that. Let me get to another character. Let's get to somebody that I really like, and I'm hoping ends up becoming more relevant later. It's Scolion. I like Scolion a lot. I think Scolion is really cool. I'm going to put him in upper B. Actually, I'm going to put him in A. Because so far, he's been a very regular factor whenever we see Diablos. Like, it's not just like we see members of Diablos and like he he occasionally is in the background and says something. Now that, like, once we got him introduced, he was the one obviously leading the main trio of Diablos. We haven't seen him in a while. I'm really hoping we can get members of Diablos back in the next chapter. That's been an ongoing thing for me for a while. Like, I understand Suzaku having some like focus for a bit, but with the other members of Diablos, I really want to know when they're going to show back up. Like, once Celine gets away, I'm really hoping we can have these guys all start to pop back up. And Scolion is my favorite out of the main trio. He's got, like, such badass magic. He's got this really sick skeletal armor design. And he's got some really good just general moments. And he seems pretty smart and pretty capable. Like, when he was fighting Gray, when he got to the point, it's like, yeah, I could probably take this dude a little seriously, busted out Black Ash, and was ready to win. Top 4 sword users. I mean, top 4. I mean, you have Urza, you have Kagura, obviously Suzaku. Suzaku's probably the top right now. And then Kiria. I'd say probably those 4. Because, like, Kagura isn't the strongest, but she's definitely, like, in terms of being a swordswoman, she's got, like, some of the highest technique. Let's see. Who's next? Okay, where's Yomazu? Let's do that guy. Yomazu, I'd put him probably upper C. Actually, I'd put him low B, and let's just get him since we're right there. Where's Kawazu? Low C. Because the weird thing is, like, they're like, oh yeah, like, up potential one day members of the Seven Kin. But they are good as a duo. They were never crazy by themselves. Yomazu definitely was the stronger one out of the duo. Like, his sword techniques were good. The utility of solid script, being able to damage and cut through God Shield scales. Like, that just gave him at least a memorable display in the manga. He got a little bit more in the anime. Both of them get a little bit more in the anime. But I would definitely say, like, he's just off of accomplishment and display alone that he's got way more of a grounds to at least be bottom C or a bottom B, whereas C for Kawazu, I think that's being generous. Like, he didn't even really have any cool attacks. He had a funny magic, but, like, having a funny magic only gets you so far. If he had some cool attacks, or maybe, like, a transformation, like, if he had some form of takeover where he had some, like, weird were chicken where he's, like, a monster. Like, imagine some form of, like, big hulking, like, scary-looking chicken dude. Like, he gets, like, 3 times taller and he gets, like, Broly big or something, but he just looks like it. Again, imagine, like, a Broly chicken. It'd be weird, but, like, you could at least look and be like, wow, that's odd enough to remember, at least. He didn't have anything like that. Dude shooting eggs. He's ass, but he's at least capable when working together with his, with his buddy. Dude, Gienma, yeah, so where is he? Where's old dude? So Gienma is, oh man, I would put him, I'm trying to think. I'm going to put him C. The reason he's C is different from these two. I don't know if you can see my mouse, actually. Can you see my mouse in the stream? Hang on. Let me see. Let me go to live. I actually have no idea if you can see my cursor in the live stream. There we go. It's going to play double over. There we go. Yeah, you can't see it. So, unlike these two, unlike Ivan and Daphne, one, factually speaking, both of Genma's designs are cool. Both his designs are cool looking. I really like his demon one where he's got, like, the 6 split beard, the weird big, like, elf ears. He's got, like, the tall hair and the growing tattoos. He looks badass. He is just cool in appearance. We never even really know what his magic does. It just seems to be this, like, flexing magic or just kind of, like, general muscular amplification of some kind. I will also give him the fact that it's satisfying to see him get defeated. Ivan had that too, but Genma, like, it was put up and you had to wait longer for it, which gave it a little bit more of a satisfying payout. So I will give him that. He has just enough, I think, to, one, keep him out of trash, because Ivan, what happened to Ivan was worse. I think what happened to Ivan was worse, because where Gienma's stuff are, like, events in the plot, Ivan's just felt like Mishima said, yeah, I don't want to do anything with him anymore. I just had to figure out how to get rid of him, and just decided to have him get bodied. And it's weird because, like, with Ivan, he also had, like, should have had a bigger role, just obviously based off of who he is. Gienma gets just enough off of stuff like his design, and he had some neat scenes, and he did some interesting stuff in the plot. That's about it. He as an individual sucks. He isn't somebody that, like, he isn't one of these guys that you would even really, like, think too much about as a bad guy, other than, like, man, it was nice seeing that dude get the shit kicked out of him. Seeing this dude get completely diced and, you know, poked up. Jose? I'll do Jose. That's a pretty fair one. Where is he? Where is he on this list? I got him in his old, you know, obviously his part 1 setup, his old design. There he is. Jose. What I want to say about Jose. Jose has some. One, he had some, probably the weirdest design of any of Mishima's early game bad guys. Like his weird pants. Like he had these like goofy shoes and a hat. He had like these little wings on him. He's one of those anime characters where, like, when you have someone like it's like an Arya. Arya, like, was in Phantom Lord. Any of the members of the Element 4, they're obviously very oddly dressed, but, like, they aren't as, like, anime crazy dressed. Like, Jose by far has the strangest one. Once he gets into his outfit for the second half of the arc, and he has, like, this weird magic militaristic wizard kind of, like, thing to him, he looks cool. He looks almost like a magical evil matador. Like, I like that kind of setup to him whenever he gets to that point in the arc. I would have loved for him to come back and have another fight, even if it was just, like, a scene where he gets flexed on, where, like, the characters kind of just use him as a measuring stick to really build up somebody else. I just want to know what he's doing. Because even in the City Heroes spinoff, the dude was a homeless man. He was just a hobo. Like, Mishima has always been really unkind to him. He's definitely higher than these guys, just because what am I doing? He's definitely higher than Kawazu. I'd put him probably around here. I'll give him one more up. He's got, like, some pretty fair presence. He's got some cool spells. And he was the one that led up to Fairy Lost, so he's got a very memorable scene of when he was in there. What's next? What's this? Can't wait for Scolion to use Dragon Force looking like Summon Skull. I would love that. I'd love to see, like, a big badass skeletal dragon. He's gonna look so cool. I can't wait to see more Scolion. Scolion's got my favorite dragon slaying type so far out of Diablos. I mean, Georg could change that. Suzaku's is really cool in the technique, but we haven't seen anything. We haven't have any description outside of, you know, being dragon slaying magic. I want to know, like, if any of his techniques do anything. Like, do any of them carry any added effects? Like, getting slashed by him, you can't heal the slashes the same way. Or if he can cut you and you know, apply some form of status effect, or just if there's anything to his attacks more than just, like, high speed and damage, you know. Zirconis S tier. I didn't add Zirconis in here. Who do I want next? Where's Doriat? So Doriat, this dude's probably around here, maybe. I would say somewhere around that, because he doesn't have one. He's not like Juvia, where Juvia got the job done. When Juvia went out to do her mission, capture Lucy, she did it. Like, that's always a plus. She's got a good record to her activities, because we also know that she had just as an additional thing, because it was pre her becoming a member of Fairy Tail. We know that her and Gaja used to go out and take down dark guilds, so that just goes to show that she has more of a successful record behind her. Doriat does have a cool form. I really like the weird, like, giant upper body, like, gorilla Hulkster of demon, and it's just the way that he essentially fights is really cool. When he uses the law of retrogression, he just, you know, he makes somebody way weaker, makes them smaller, and tries just to raw overpower and eat them. Like, he is a monster. He's like this, like, I really wish that Mishima made him scarier looking. Like, he looks cool, but I wish that he played more on, like, a horror factor. Just because, like, this dude is literally, like, in the fairy tale world. This is a child's bedtime nightmare character. Like, this is a guy that's like, oh, you know, he'll find you, he'll weaken you, and he'll eventually just go and eat you. It doesn't matter if you're a child already or what. He's gonna eventually track you down, and obviously you can defeat him. Like, he's not that big initially. Like, if you can just kind of counteract his power, then bam, you can just run over him, or just outsmart him. If you have like a good axe that used even at a younger age, you should be fine. But obviously, he is like his hacks is also like a really dangerous ability.
Fake salamander for S tier. What do you mean fake salamander?
I don't know about fake salamander on this list. Let me see. Who are we gonna talk about next? Everloo. Everloo's D tier. I mean, Everloo. Where do I even want to put Everloo? I don't even want to put him above Lullaby. Like, he's just like this little douchebag. Like, and nothing from Everloo really did a whole lot in the long run. Like, he got Lucy a key. He got Virgo added to the story. But, like, he just was this, like, piece of shit. Like, he just went and bullied some dude and, like, kidnapped him and forced him to write a book for him for years, and then was mad when it was shitty that the guy he kept as a slave didn't say nice things about him. Like, he is a sad sack of human flesh. I wish that we found out what he was doing in the current story, and it's like he lost a lot of money or something, or maybe he turned his life around and started to be like a nicer guy. Who knows? Like, it's weird that we don't know about his character after his story. Like, just as like an added little note, just because it was something that happened obviously at the very beginning, and like Cabby, like what happened to that dude? Because he should still be alive in the story. I don't know. Claudia, dude's persistent. Like if we count his anime additional stuff and like stuff in the Starry Sky, he's definitely got more of a persistence bonus to him. Like, he doesn't seem to ever really go away. He comes back. Like, he's even been in the filler or in the OVA with Rave Master. The dude won't surprise me if he pops back up again in either another anime only arc. Like if they brought back 100 Years or the Fairy Tail did 100 Years Quest anime, and they said, hey, we need to do like a 3-chapter or a 3-episode filler arc before we get to the next Dragon God, and they brought back Claudia to be an opponent, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, that dude just seems to return. He's persistent, and he's ready to keep going. Bora, the fake salamander. Oh, you mean like Bora? For some reason I was thinking about, like, people were talking about Black Clover salamander. I don't know why. Bora is definitely D. Bora is like one spot probably above Everloo. He's definitely a bad dude. I mean, he was kidnapping all these women to sell them into slavery, like put him in human trafficking. Dude's definitely garbage. I would give him that he was doing that for a while, so he's like a successful bad guy, and that like he wasn't just like, oh, we're kidnapping them to rob them or something. It's like, you know, he was committed to being bad. He was committed to being like a garbage dude. And he got kicked out of his guild already for Titan Nose just for being a bad guy. And he didn't, like, that wasn't even a wake-up call. He's just like, well, fuck it. I guess I might as well get my hands deeper in this shit. Yeah, he was at least dedicated to his job of being scum. Let's do Dist. Dist was like a really classical, just general bad guy. I would like to put him, I think here's good. Like a good one spot above Rufus. He was this like old movie style bad guy. Like, he just wanted to steal immortality so he can live forever and he could be king. Like, he just was this old classic rendition of an antagonist. Just this traitor dude who wasn't really loyal to anybody and just trying to climb up for himself. Pretty cool guy. I liked how he uses magic. I don't think he had any name techniques in the whole movie. Just thinking back to, let me look him up real quick. I don't think that he had any spells. Like, I know he uses telepathy, but I don't think he had a single named attack. Let me see. Let me see if it's mentioned. No, it's just telekinesis. He has 0 named attacks in the series. We don't even know what the telekinetic magic is called. It could just be general telepathy, and he's just really good and precise at it. I don't know. And again, it's a character obviously being from a short period of time, because like the movies aren't canon, but like the movies, they're condensed in their own thing. Like Dragon Cry connects to a larger story, but it's not something that like comes up every 5 seconds. So Dist, like I wish we saw Dist again, just like a scene. Like if we saw like somebody just like go to one of these prisons and like walk across some of the bad guys. Like if we saw him, that scene when Mest goes to confront Cobra. If we saw Dist in like a cell, that'd be super cool. Rex, which fighting style do you prefer? Fairy Tail, hand-to-hand combat, sword fight, or more magic attacks? I prefer hand-to-hand. I like the melee attacks. Like Dragon Slaying. That's like, you know, obviously being way more of a brawler type wizard. That's definitely what I would prefer to be if I was in their world. Like Hero is GOAT, designing characters. They all look unique and interesting. The thing is, like, I always think it's hilarious when people try and say, like, Mishima doesn't have ideas because they, like, use the characters like Jalal, Mystigan, Justice, Sieg. Like, they use the ones he intentionally makes to look similar. But, like, you look at all the different characters that he designs and they just completely ignore it. I mean, look at, like, right now, Emperor Nero. Like, when is the last time? What other characters does Mishima have with this big, weird fish dude? Oh, Kageyama. Kageyama's cool. He's okay. Again, he's another character I'm surprised didn't come back and didn't have, like, a returning role. Because he's just kind of like a random bad guy. Like, there's nothing really about him that's that special. And I like, the closest thing that he ever really had was, like, when people make jokes about him looking like Shikamaru. But that's about it. Like, his character is kind of laughable when you think about him, when you think about what he was capable back then, and he was like really astonished that like Natsu could like to take out some of his spells, like, because he didn't have anything crazy. Like, he just had his shadow stuff. Like, he could mess with shadows and make like shadow attacks. They didn't have any like crazy traits or abilities to them. And he, like, his idea of like the scale, like the ceiling of where wizards can go to, must have been so enclosed into Eisenwald. Because, like, if I was in his world and, like, I don't know, I feel like if I was in a world like this, I would have some knowledge of, like, where the top, like, not like the very top, like, say, like, Akame and stuff, but, like, knowing about, like, wizard saints and knowing that, like, there are way more people or way more powerful people out there. And so, obviously, if, like, that's where those guys are at, there's going to be people between you. Like, way less surprised if someone was going to be able to overtake me when I know that I'm not even close to the top. Because, like, Kageyama really was just, like, a random... Like, he just kind of, like, general character strength. Obviously, he couldn't fight Natsu. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he lost to Max. Like, to be perfectly honest. Sash? Okay. Sash is cool. Sash was just, like... He was a good display, again, of a... Like, he's just a scummy bad guy. There was nothing about him that was likable. He had no real bigger purpose. He was just kind of like this piece of shit. He liked to hurt people. He liked to torture women. And he had no real good traits to him as an individual. He just was a bad dude. What? Telekinesis, telepathy, whatever. I said telekinesis. What else is there? Bora also broke up with Juvia. Yeah, dude missed on that. Dude missed like super loyalty. All right, let's do another big one. Let's do Jalal. Dude, Jalal is definitely up there. Like Jalal, I think him as a character, him as a full character, I would definitely say above 80s. But we're talking about just the antagonist version of him. Jalal was so cool. He's 40 chessing the government. Him just doing everything in the Tower of Heaven. All his plot twists, and like he's got some of the coolest magic in the series. He's got one of the most memorable scenes in the series during his fight with Natsu eating Ethereon. Jalal has a lot of really good quotes, and like he was brutal when we saw him, like when he came back, like after being messed with, like in his head, like everything, like pretty much just where he kind of turned into antagonist, and he was like crushing those dudes' heads under his foot. He was like smashing them against walls until they exploded and just like blood splatters. Like he was serious. He was super smart. His magic was badass. Like everything that he did was just like this. Like he just had like this great gold standard of antagonist for the series. Like I would say he was definitely the first really good antagonist for the series as well. It was like Gajio was really cool, but obviously Gajio wasn't the same level of like mastermind villain that Jalal was. So I definitely would put Jalal up there. If this was like total, if we were talking about like if we were counting Jalal rather as like the good guy, I would definitely rank him at the top. Like Jalal is definitely one of my favorite characters in the series. But a lot of the stuff that makes that so for Jalal is after his villain kind of stuff, or as just his villain stuff by itself, I would definitely put it like way up there. Also, just because we've been going on for a while, I'd really appreciate if you guys would thumbs up the stream. You know, give it a thumbs up and prefer the like and subscribe button if you haven't. And, you know, if you feel like donating, anything is appreciated. You want to throw $1 my way, do the super chat. There's the Streamlabs option. I was thinking about what I would eventually do for more content. Because I was going to do I was thinking about doing a Patreon for... This is just a side thing before we get in there, because I want to get your guys' opinion as well. I was thinking about doing a Patreon for a bit, and I decided not to, because I wanted to focus more on the content of my channel before, you know, trying to do more stuff and just kind of adding on to other things, because I still have things that I want to do on here, and I just don't want to put too much stuff on my plate. But I know there's, like, the membership option, and I would really just wonder, like, what people would want to have if I did like anything that would just be like almost like, oh yeah, you know, $2 a month as a member. I know you get like extra emojis. I just have to figure out like what the requirements are to get that role. I think I need more subscribers, but eventually it'd be something cool like that. I think their own emojis would be really neat, and I wouldn't have anything kind of crazy on there, so I'd probably only do like something like a $2 tier or whatever, like nothing wild, but at least enough that, you know, it could be if people want to support the channel.
Ult tier S, yeah, ult tier is definitely high up there as well. Joel best early antagonist, I do agree. Do Faust, yeah, I can look at Faust. Where does Urza still love Jalal? I mean, yeah,
I mean that's not even a question. Where's Faust at? Where is he? There he is. Faust. I actually really like Faust. I would put him... Let me think really quick. For Faust, I would honestly probably put him... I want to say... high B. I'm going to put him next to Blue Note. Where did I just put Faust down? I might... No, let me think. Actually, yeah. I'm going to put him next to Blue Note. The reason that I like Faust... is not like Faust is from a short arc, again, that an arc that I was never the biggest fan of. Well, the two things I really liked about that arc, well, three things, because I like Panther Lily, but like Nightwalker and Faust. But Faust, from his perspective, he's doing a good thing. He's doing something what he thinks is better for his kingdom and his people, but he's doing it at such a radical and extreme level that obviously it draws conflict with the Fairy Tail Guild and stuff. So with him, I always liked that from his perspective, again, he's doing the right... Well, he's not doing the right thing. He's doing something that he deems as necessary for a prosper future for his people. So he's able to justify it to a degree in his own head. And I've always thought that was good. Plus, well, from his perspective as a character. Plus, he was fine sacrificing himself in order to get the project off. There's a part when they're like trying to take him hostage. He's like, doesn't matter, just do it. Don't worry about me. Do what we need to for the mission. And I always respected that about him as a bad guy, not as a bad guy rather, but as a ruler, because it showed that even though he was a lunatic, he did look for, or from his perspective, he was looking for what he thought best for his people, and he was willing to sacrifice himself for them. So it showed that he was dedicated. He wasn't just one of those guys who's like, I'm the king, I can do whatever I want kind of thing. Kind of like clearly what Nero is now. Nero clearly doesn't see his people as anything more than numbers. They're just units to him, whereas Faust had a level of dedication to them. Aragorn. Wait, yeah, I could do Aragorn. Where is he? Aragorn is cool. I would probably put Aragorn maybe like right here. He had like his return point, but he didn't do anything a little extra. His magic is cool. His design is pretty sick. You know, obviously having a scythe. A scythe is a weapon that's pretty hard to make not look cool. It just looks spooky and badass. And combined with like wind magic, he's riding it around just looking like this spooky floater of death in the sky. He had like one of the first big fights in the series. Obviously, it wasn't, you know, Natsu versus Gajil. It was before. This was like Natsu's first big flex. Like, just kind of like really press his power. But, yeah, he's pretty good. He's alright. I'd be curious to know what he's doing now. Because, like, when did he, like, fix his heads? Like, did he go back in prison? Is he somewhere out there in Earthland? Because, he tried to commit mass murder, so I wouldn't imagine that he's going to get, like, a short sentencing.
I would really want to see you get in depth for Jalal versus Laxus.
I still need to do that. I've been meaning to do it for, like, a year and a half. What else is there? Who else do I want to see? Let's look at Hiroshi. This dude, he's okay. Like, he probably would be somewhere around here. Like the dude, where are the other two? Where's Rala and Drake? They're all probably right here. They're like some of the lowest characters, like Antagonist. I would say, let me look at these three. I kind of want to say Rala above the other ones, just because his design, he's got like a neat beard. I like his big hand weapon. I think his hand weapon is pretty cool. I think as a treasure hunters, they all got pretty cool weapons. You got like a sniper, you got a dude with a gun blade that also, you know, a machine gun blade, and then you have this dude with this big weird hand. They've got a neat set. Like, nothing about, like, at least how they or at least were set up for their treasure hunting is boring. The only thing I would say is, like, in a scenario, I wonder, like, how often really having a sniper with you is going to be that useful. Like, if he was a gun expert and sniping was just part of it, that'd be one thing, but it's like, in every scenario, is he going to run off, like, to go find a vantage point? I mean, I know that's how snipers work, but, like, how often are they going to be, like, inside of some form of, like, castle ruins or, like, deep underground where he's not going to be able to have anything like that? Obviously, a machine gun, sword dude, and some guy with a big hand is going to be able to come in way more handy, but Silver said he learned Ice Curse because he's a fire demon, implying strong as fire, but Rufus said Gray's weakness is... yeah, but that's because there's a potency level to it, because if you have cold enough ice, you're not going to be able to get fire out the same way, because it's going to be like all thinned out, it's going to be too cold. And with fire, if the fire solid enough, you're just going to melt the ice. I'd love you to do similar as Masako X does with the Dragon Ball with Berry Tall. I'm trying to do more versus stuff soon. I'm playing some stuff out. Like, I have had a lot of ideas in the works, and I'm trying to get, like, at least the base things kind of laid out. Like, I need to do my video on White Dragon Slaying Magic. There's no Shonen Jump tomorrow, so I'm probably going to do it tomorrow. I've been meaning to do it. I'll probably do my stuff on Sting. And there's a Dragon Slayer... there's a Dragon Slayer video that I want to do. And I can talk about some inverse fights, but I mostly want to do cross-verse. Like, Jalal versus Laxus is just one that, like, has been in there for a long time that I wanted to talk about. Because that's, like, it's, like, the most long set talked about match in the series, because it has not really been... It hasn't been disputed, and Mishima has been pretty well at, like, giving Laxus and Jalal new stuff back-to-back and kind of keeping them relevant power-wise near each other for a long time. The only thing right now that's different is Jalal didn't get any new spells, whereas Laxus got his Red Lightning Dragon stuff. Let's see, who's this? Nineheart. Let's do Nineheart. Nineheart's okay. I like Nineheart. I'd put him probably somewhere probably like right here. I like his design was a surprise. I thought he would have like a mask and he'd be like way more armored, but he ended up having this kind of like weird poet in like armor set. Like, he's strange. He's probably like the least liked, I'd say, like, of the Spriggan 12, but he's got one of the more neat magics. Honestly, as strange it is, I always liked his color scheme. Like, he's got green armor and purple hair with like a yellow frayed cloth set to it, like some form of weird blouse. Like he has a very weird color palette, but I always liked that. But yeah, I always thought he was kind of cool. Deadly Sins versus Spriggan told this, any of the Spriggan can just completely walk through them. Like they're way more powerful. It's not even close. Like there's a huge power gap when you get from people like the the 7 Sins to the Spriggan. Because like Wall can just drop Ethereon. Ethereon is more powerful than like anything the 7 Deadly Sins can do. Wait, no, it's on this one. Why does Urza still have Jalal? She knows that Jalal wasn't a bad guy. Jalal was just being controlled and manipulated. Did you see Macron met with Hero? I'm guessing during the Olympics. Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, let me get some more news. Hot-Eye. Hot-Eye's cool. Hot-Eye was interesting as a bad guy when he first showed up. He's a cool individual. As a bad guy, we didn't really get a whole lot about him. It was mostly just like that he loved money and he was trying to get all this money. We found out to eventually find his brother. If he didn't get like the whole Nirvana switch, I wonder what it would have been like when he met up with his brother, because he would have still been a bad guy. He still would have been really corrupted, or like maybe that was what he was like. He was just kind of bad until he got to his brother. That's what he was playing to turn his life around. Maybe something like that. Who else do I want to do? Let's do Laxus, dude. Laxus is a bad guy, absolutely up there. Like he was one of the most threatening, like demanding dudes. Like he just had everything like going on crazy in his arc. He led to Mira Jane's like reawakening. He led to like seeing Leo and Lucy like way better in combat. Like he had a lot of really cool stuff. Obviously the reveal with like Mystogun and seeing Mystogun fight. There was a lot of really cool stuff that happened because of Laxus, and then Laxus as a bad guy was just very threatening and a very powerful, just general presence in the arc itself. Akame versus Kagura. I mean, Kagura should just overpower. Like, Akame's got that dangerous sword, but Kagura is so much more powerful, and she's so much faster. August versus Mard Geared. Oh, August would beat both of them. Like, August is so much more powerful than them, it's not even funny. What else? Larcade. Larcade is cool. I like Larcade. I never loved him. I thought his design was neat. He's got like really interesting magic when you look at the concept behind it. He was a really weird character for a while just because like he added such a big question mark to the series. Like he showed up in the 490s and like we didn't find it till like the late 520s like what exactly his deal was. It was a really weird time just trying to formulate ideas of who exactly Larcade is entirely, just because he was like I don't like it was questionable exactly of where he was, where he was at, and like what exactly he was capable of. What about Merity? Merity was cool. I'd probably put her like maybe around here, like lower B. She had like some pretty good displays. Her whole thing of like counting her like the people that she wanted to die, like who the most important people for her to see eliminated were, and her whole becoming like being like almost like a like machine-like killer when she first showed up, just like how she seemed to be trained and how she was operating. Good stuff. Plus she has like Magilty Sense is definitely one of my favorite magics in the series. Like it's just neat, and how it operates like entirely. It's able to kind of pretty much bypass abilities that would like something like intangibility, since it just applies directly to your senses. It's pretty cool though. Laxus was not a bad guy. Laxus wasn't a bad guy, we know that, but he was lying to himself, and there was a lot of situations there. Laxus and Jalal versus Irene and God Serena. See, God Serena is not really that much of a factor in that. It's obviously like Irene. Jalal and Laxus combined, I don't think they could take Irene, to be perfectly honest. I don't think they can take Irene. Yeah, Irene should have no problem. Like, Irene is so powerful. Springtall honestly weren't serious about the war. I mean, we know that they weren't as serious as they should have, because, like, Zareth saw it as a game, but we still saw a lot of them fight seriously. Whereas, like, Irene, we know where Irene sits in relation to the other Sprig, and it's not even close. Fukuro. Let's do Fukuro. Fukuro is okay. I like him. I always thought that like he just was a really weird bad guy for not having any form of design or appearance of being a bad guy other than like he just would eat people. His ability to like pretty much consume people and absorb their magic was neat. It gave him like some pretty good OP possibilities, and he led to like Gray Freezing Fire, which is super sick. Like that was still such a weird moment for me, because it's one of those like, oh yeah, this is fiction. Like you can do ridiculous things like that in fiction. What's up, Gene? How are you doing, Gene? I heard you getting some job applications out there. Hope you get it, man. Jalal's women almost beat Laxus, so Jalal beats Laxus. Oh, that's different though. Urza is a character based obviously around the armors and her weapons, and she got 2 OP brand new weapons that she was able to use on Laxus. And Laxus just obtained this new form. We don't know if Laxus is going to keep pushing it and gain anything more. Like he could easily combine it with Dragon Force. Thank you, Gene. You're doing a good job at see, Gene, you're like a professional stream mod. Honestly, God Serena annoys the hell out of me. God Serena is really funny. I wish so bad that his character didn't make it the poor decisions that he did. Because like during that meeting that they had, he's like eating like an omelet. Like he's just hanging out there. He's eating like a breakfast for like, I think that's like their version of going to like McDonald's. Like it's got the little flag in it. He absolutely could have been cooler. He just made some really poor decisions. Funny, like kind of funny that Natsu made Demaria quit using magic to become. I mean, she can still use magic. She quit like fighting. She's just living her life. She's just the world's most OP farmer. I went on an interview for McDonald's, but sadly, oh, you didn't get it, man. That sucks. Well, just keep trying, man. Keep trying, Gene. I was gonna say though, if you got work at McDonald's, you're directly where the fresh fries are. Something about McDonald's fresh fries, man. I watched a video on how they make them. It's like way more complicated than I thought. At some point, I want to learn how to do it. Who's stronger, August or Irene? I definitely go August. That power at Wendy from Wendy Urza loses to Laxus. I mean, those are buffs though. Like those are things that she, like how she works, because her weapons are all made by somebody. It's different from her having something set up going into the fight versus like somebody helping her mid-fight. Because she should just have these swords, I would assume, if she wanted to use them again. It's not that different from like, you know, getting one of her other weapons or armor from somebody who made them. Laxus though, I mean, Laxus got a Dragon Slayer locker, so like he got powered up from that in the first place. So I don't know. I think it's kind of fair, really, when you think about it. Oh, and I gotta make it bigger. It's still got like the old that old picture from when I was when we had the Diablos picture on. I was gonna make it bigger, but it's messing with the background picture for some reason. Popeyes fries, McDonald's fries. McDonald's fries. The thing about McDonald's fries is the quality of them depends on how fresh they are. Like McDonald's fries are like the Fruit Stripes gum of French fries. Like if they've been sitting around and you just get some regular fries, they're like the most kind of okay. They're just like, yeah, whatever. If you get fresh fries, man, they're great. McDonald's fresh fries are pristine. Like that's like one of the only lucky things for me is like since all the COVID stuff, like the McDonald's that I usually go to, they almost always have fresh fries. Because I think more people are just using the drive-thru, so it's way more active, but just not inside. So they usually have fresh fries when I go there. That always makes me really hyped. Just as a side bit of Rax lore and my love for McDonald's fresh fries. Outside of that, if I just get regular fries, it bums me out. That's like a make or break thing if I go to anywhere with French fries. It's like how good their French fries are. I want to get real. I mentioned this to somebody at work just as like a little bit extra Rax lore. Is a food I want to just master is French fries. Where it's like if you had some form of event, like some form of party, it's like, okay guys, I got my one skill, everyone out of the way. I can't do anything else, but you know what? There's gonna be delicious French fries. No sleeping on Dragon Quest. I want to watch that at some point. It looks cool. You know, McDonald's fries when they're nice and warm. Yeah, when they're brand new, they just get out of there. Want to see in the final season whose features are better between August and Irene? Well, the thing is, like we know One, Ars Magia is a thing. Like, that was more impressive than anything Irene really did when you think about it. Because it's like, his was way more just direct, potent, like, destruction. And we know that he was the strongest member. He was appointed the leader of the Spriggan 12. I'm a McDonald's employees. All our fries are fresh. I don't understand that you guys make them, but I mean, like, how long ago when you get them were they pulled out of the fryer? Because when I get it, when it gets like fresh out of the fryer, you can still tell that they're fresh warm. Like that's where they're at their peak. Versus like if they get them out of like they've been sitting for a minute. I don't mean like they put them. They get them from bags. I know McDonald's makes their like all their French fries. Because I watched a guy talk about like that they pretty much shoot the potatoes through like a pressurized water tube through like a wired grate that like pretty much just uses force to slice them up to the like size and shape they are. What's the best sauce of all time? Man, I really like just regular ketchup. You know, like a good ketchup is to me is like perfect. I like ketchup, horseradish, sour or not sour mustard. Sweet and sour like mustard, like a good honey mustard too. Those are probably my favorite. Oh, let's do old tier. Yeah, you're right. So let me move back to old tier. Old tier definitely. I would put old tier somewhere up at S. Like old tier, she is like a like evil double agent in the series. Time Wizard double agent, because we know everything that she was doing with C. We know everything that was going on with Hades. Even near the end when she seemed to be going on along a path with crime sorcery, but was starting to stray away from it. She is a dangerous lady. She obviously was directly in line orchestrating a lot of events that happened. And well, hang on. Let me get to Gene's response. I gotta respond to you in a second, my guy. But old tier is just one of those characters. Everybody likes old tier. She's got one of the like saddest backstories in the series, and she's got like a really, really emotional payout for her character. And I remember when those chapters came out. Those were sad days. Like, because finding out old tier is actually the first character you see in the series. Like in the official manga, Ultir is the very first character. It's changed slightly in the anime, but in the manga, she's the first character you see. You see her arm, and she's breaking and resetting her crystal ball. Gene White, don't hate on ketchup or horseradish. What are you talking about? Universe 1 is sick. Ketchup, mayonnaise, barbecue sauce, garlic ranch. I like garlic in general, though, too. I recently started using garlic butter. Man, I gotta make more stuff of that. I might make some food of that later today, to be perfectly honest. There are a lot of Zentopia members missing. I didn't really want to, like, legitimately, I didn't really want to use anyone from Zentopia. I don't have a problem. Like, I don't hate, like, like, the Starry Sky characters or the arc. But, I mean, they really weren't much for antagonists. Like, they just kind of showed up and they were kind of menacing for the most part. But they never did anything that bad. And on top of that, there's nothing really to talk about. The closest would be Byron, just like that he had a fight with Guildarts. But there's no reason that I didn't want to have them on here just to rank them low and say, yeah, I have almost nothing to talk about for them. Because like someone like Ivan and Daphne, Daphne's on here mainly because like you gotta have some people in the trash. But like Ivan, obviously you gotta have Ivan in there, but I don't really care for the Starry Sky arcs. Ultra Hottest Babe, Laxus, God tier. Like, not God tier. God tier is going to go to one man and one man allegedly alone. Probably put Ikaruga up there as well. August stronger than Irene, but Irene has shown more of what her power could do. I mean, yeah, she just had a better display. Mishima put more time on her than I think with August, and I think just because he had a number crunch going on. So I'm going to just figure out what Jalal's next spell. I really want to see what Jalal can do next. I'm still predicting he becomes a Dragon Eater. I can't wait. Like, I'm still fully predicting he becomes a Dragon Eater. I'm sticking on to that. Let's get Leon. I'll give Leon a good B spot. Leon probably around right here. Like, you know, leading into the stuff with Gray's backstory. Good, cool magic. I liked his whole cool Rayo helmet. He was interesting for what he was. He was a really unexpected bad guy. Like, I don't think anybody went to Galuna Island thinking that, like, the enemy was going to be, like, Gray's former, co-disciple, one of his one of the people under her. Evergreen, let's put Evergreen, Big Slow, and then we'll get to Freed. Evergreen was cool. I thought Evergreen was neat for her first like little bout. I'll personally put her above Hot Eye because she had like the fact that she beat Elfman during her first encounter, which was really good, to be perfectly honest. And she just got kind of screwed because she fought Urza. Because Evergreen was definitely in a pretty good spot strength-wise within the guild. The fact she was able to beat Elfman is actually really impressive. Like, Elfman canonically, like, Elfman's weakness is that he's slow. So, Evergreen being able just to dance around his attacks made sense. But her being able to pretty much maul him with some of her spells, which she's Gremlin and just blow up the area that he was in, like, that's actually really impressive. So she was actually in a well-placed position. Like, if she went against other people besides, like, people like Urza, Natsu, Gray, she probably would have been fine and got more wins under her belt. So I'd put her just as, like, a pretty fair and competent opponent. About the same with Big Slow. I'd put Big Slow probably before, or, like, right here in comparison to her. Where Freed, where's Freed at? Freed definitely has to have a little bit of a higher spot. Like, Freed was really cool in that arc. Like, he was menacing. He was threatening. He had, like, just this really good right-hand man villain kind of presence to him. We know that he wasn't, like, evil, but how well he was willing to go out there and do stuff for Laxus and just all his different runes and traps and stuff that you do. It just always seemed like he was planning ahead of everyone else, and I always thought that was pretty sick. Who is the strongest in the Thunder Legion? Oh, definitely Freed. It's definitely Freed. What about Brain? Brain's pretty cool. I think I'd personally put Brain below Midnight. I always liked Brain more than Midnight. Or sorry, Midnight before Brain. Like, Brain was cool, like, but unfortunately for him, like, he wasn't the big show. Because really, when you look at the value levels of the Erasion Sace, Brain at the best is third from the top. Like, he's below Midnight and he's below Zero. Zero clearly being the very top of it, and that's why we're going to go into Zero next. I'm putting, like, Zero is absolutely an A. Zero is a great example of when you have a bad guy who is just very powerful and threatening and destructive and evil. And he's just crazy. Oh, I just realized I have a second 9-heart in here. Why do I have 2 9-hearts? Why is 9-heart intertwined? Damn it, 9-heart. You know what? For that 9-heart, you get... The second 9-heart can be in the trash. That's for the people that hate 9-heart. Just because there's 2 in there, he gets to sit there for being slightly ruined. But we're going to talk about Zero. Zero had one of the coolest parts in the anime. He's got really sick magic. He's got, like, his whole reveal was pretty badass when you, like, that countdown just of seeing those lines disappear and then eventually he pops up. Like, Zero was sick. Larcade was sus magic. Larcade was actually really cool. Where is he? Where's Larcade? Wait, I already did Larcade, didn't I? I put Larcade in there. Hughes is like a C. Like, Hughes legitimately is like maybe here. Let me give him a good spot. He's okay. He really has like the least he had the least impressive magic out of all of the like the guard, like the captains of the Edelist military. Because like Byro had like these cool like magic things that he had in vials, like being able to make tornadoes and stuff and lightning and whatnot. And then you had, like, they had Sugar Boy's Rosa Espada. He had this weird softening sword. There was a lot in there that was more odd to use, but, like, with Hughes, he mostly just grabbed random things. He just kind of, like, threw random things at his opponents. His power is so situational. Like, if you, like, imagine, like, what it'd be like fighting him if you were outside. Like, cool, he throws trees at you. He's got trees. Amazing. He's not that impressive, really, when you think about it. August is definitely, I'd put August at A, definitely over Zero. August is really cool. The hype around him constantly, anytime he was out there flexing, I was so bad that Mishima extended a little bit more in Alvarez, because I personally think that he had to choose between if you wanted to focus on either Irene August and Zeref Acnologia, and just by like how August and Acnologia's part seemed a little bit rushed. It really would, like, it would have been really interesting to see, like, if he didn't have that kind of, like, I would assume, at least seemingly, rushing, what he would have done more with August. Because August was hype. August, every time he came up, he was powerful. He has, like, one of the craziest plot twists in the series. He allegedly knows every magic in the world. Like, dude's OP. Like, he had a really cool additional parts in the anime when they just, like, showed more magic from him, gave him more of just, like, this aura presence flex. Mard Gear, yes! Where's my guy? Where's my dude Mard Gear? Mard Gear, one of my favorite characters in the whole series. Mard Gear S tier. Mard Gear, 30 chapters or so of just non-stop, him being a monster, him just having this sick demon Victorian, like, dude in the darkness style to him as he's, like, thorns brambling everything. He's like this genius tactician. Both his designs are amazing. He's always carrying around this book. I love the part in the anime they added when Rusty Rose goes to confront Tartaros, and then you see Mard Gear off in the distance, and he's just watching. Like, it was so cool. Mard Gear's amazing. Like, his curses are sick. He has, like, all these really cool lines. He's got some of, like, the coolest moments. He's got some of the best fights, just in general scenes. Like, when he's fighting the Celestial Spirit, like, everything around that is really sick. Mard Gear is one of my favorites. That part where he likes that scene where he lands back on his throne. He's like, listen, I haven't even gotten my theories form yet. You guys better pick up the pace. And it's just badass. Like super badass, just in all areas. I don't think anybody would really, like, go against that. Where's Rusty Rose? Don't I have Rusty Rose on here? I got Racer. Did I already do Rusty Rose? How do I not have Rusty Rose? I know you know what? I might have saved over him. That might be why I have 2 9 hearts. And why one of the 9 hearts was so far on the list. That I might have actually just saved over him. Because I don't see him on here. Dang it. Oh well. I'd put Rusty Rose decently well up, like, in the B or something area. That must have been what happened. Because that makes sense to me. I wish if I could go over it and it would show. Like, let me pull up my folder really quick. And see if I just saved over it, because it should still be named the same thing in my folder where I had all the pictures set up. Let me see. Oh, I just don't have it. What, man? That sucks. Well, then who did Nineheart cover up? Oh, Nineheart covered up Bloodman. Oh yeah, I don't have Bloodman on your. I accidentally saved it over. That makes actually more sense because he's in the same area. Man, I forgot Rusty Rose. How did I forget Rusty Rose? He made his story of himself. I mean, yeah, you probably could. Well, no, because he's not dead. Brandish. I don't actually think about it. It's like Brandish is not really. I mean, she's an antagonist. She's not like Rogue, where Rogue was just on an enemy team, but he wasn't a bad guy. Whereas Brandish was an antagonist, but she didn't do a lot of being an antagonist. She didn't do a lot of evil stuff. I probably put her somewhere just pretty well placed because she was competent, she was capable in what she was doing, and even the part where, like, jokingly, like the silly scene where Kana knocks her out, that was still, yeah, that was done in a funny way rather than like her being dumb in a way. Celine so far, I personally would put Celine S tier. This is my unbiased take, because here's the difference. These guys all have huge amounts of content and stuff that would kind of put them out there. Like, all these guys, and Mard Gears is like 30 just almost back-to-back chapters of stuff he's doing and directly involved with and stuff, and his arc obviously being one of the most influential, like, most impactful ones on the whole series. Celine's is already doing really well. Right now, she just lacks large-scale content. Like, after this arc, I could see her easily being, like, higher up in this list. Like, maybe put her further down. Like, she could easily be like, if they do her backstory right and give her, like, a really good fight, and then depending on how her existence in the series ends, she could easily move up to GOAT tier. But for now we'll just put her at S, because, as I've said, I'm a big fan of Celine, but she doesn't have nearly as much stuff to kind of be above these guys, or to obviously be in the GOAT tier. Sugar Boy, I put Sugar Boy just like a solid B. Nothing kind of too crazy. He's a solid character, just a competent bad guy. He's got like a really interesting design. I like his magic sword. Like I said, I've always thought his power was cool, even though it was pretty silly. God Serena. God Serena. He's like a C. He's like a solid C. Because he's powerful, he's got cool magic, he's got some neat scenes, but he doesn't have a lot to him, obviously being cut short. Assault Sleeves, that's right, yeah, 100%. Niner made a story of himself. I get what you're saying, but it's like, logically, like, he's got to be dead to be a Historia. Zoldio? Zoldio actually, like, he would be pretty fair up. I personally would put him above Nineheart at the very least, just because he's a consistent bad guy who has more of an existence in the series than one would expect. Like, I didn't think you'd to see him again after his initial arc, and he was a big, weird reveal in the first place. So, he definitely gets some respect as an antagonist. Angel's kind of like in an okay area as well. Like, she never really had a whole lot. Actually, let me put her a little bit higher. She did kill Karen. So, let me give her some more respect. I'm going to put her above Brain. The fact she killed Karen and she was like a pretty confident fighter is actually pretty fair for her. Because she did have that first scene in the Racion Seis arc when she snuck up on Ichigo and Jura. I will give her that. Cobra. Let's do Cobra. Cobra and Azuma. Let's do Azuma next, actually. Cobra, absolutely. He's like A. I'm going to put him here. Because, like, he was a badass. He was really cool. His magic was sick. He his big, cool snake. He's got, like, a lot of return value. He's had a lot of existence in the series since his initial arc, especially stuff they add in the anime. Cobra's cool. I've always really liked Cobra. I feel like most people like Cobra. And they were probably going to always enjoy, like, his character and where he's at. Actually, I'm going to come back to Zuma. Let's do Zancro. Zancro is about the same as, like, these guys. It's funny because these three, Cobra, Jackal, and Zancro, are at least similar and, like, not his opponents that could have been rival enemies to him. But neither of them really ended up going to that role, like, from their fight. Like, they had their fights, but they never kind of moved beyond into, like, anything more ongoing. Whereas it looks like that's where Ignia's going to be. Zancro's cool, though. I know, like, I've never met anybody that just didn't like Zancro. I felt Suzaku would get killed. Yeah, Suzaku. I'm so curious of how like this next chapter is going to go because we're in such a really weird point where any of the scenarios that happen with Celine is gonna could lead to something like completely unexpected or something really strange. I'm hoping she gets away because it'll be really weird if Natsu gets there before she gets away. Like, what are they gonna do with Celine if she doesn't escape? Tartarus the best arc, fair to my opinion. Mine too. I agree. Jackal, Mardgear versus Ulquiorra and Grimjow. Oh, Mardgear and Jackal are gonna win. Like, Jackal's not really much of a factor in here, but Mardgear, just physically and hacks-wise, is going to be too much for them. And one of the things that screws over Ulquiorra drastically is that his lawns, he can't really aim. It's hard for him to control. And, the second Mardgear locks any of them with Momentum Worry, it's over. Natsu vs. Cobra's a great fight in the anime. That was a super hype fight. Azuma's pretty cool, to be honest, fighting Urza and Mirajane. I really like Azuma, too. So I will do Azuma. Azuma, I would probably place above... I'd place him above Jackal, below... Actually, hang on. Let me move him up a little higher. Personally, I'd put honestly, thinking back more about it, I'd probably put Azuma above Nightwalker. Because, his fight and, his acceptance of what happened and how it was... it made him happy. He got what he wanted. He really wanted that battle, and he finally got it. Was really sick. Deleora, again, very classic monster, just this big behemoth within the series, high value, and how he is doing. I'll put him at a pretty decent spot because he like I said, his existence as this destructive creature of just this unstoppable wandering behemoth is respectable in of itself. Do you think Andy will return? Did you not read the Mercephobia fight? Franmoth, probably about B. I'd probably put him... Where is he? He was entertaining. I liked him. I'd put him probably about here with Rufus. Let's actually, you know what? Let's go to the man. Let's go to the undisputed top of this list. Let's go to the undisputed top of this list. The guy at the very pinnacle at the peak of everything of like these characters. Let's get Zeref, the guy who the series literally couldn't function without. He's literally tied to almost everything. He's this unstoppable, powerful freaking prodigy of magic, this genius amongst the magical world, who a lot of people just see as like a borderline god. Like he's got multiple religions based around him. Zeref is undisputed in the series for influential characters and just like what he's fully capable of. He does have the drip, that is factual. Eclipse Leo, he's okay. I mean, he was neat design. He's got like a pretty intimidating just presence in the series. He was one of the more memorable people of that arc. Like, he had like just a pretty neat piece. Had like the Dark Fire. I'd probably put him above Dist, probably above Zero and Angel. Actually, let me put him right here next. Actually, let me move him a little bit different. He's gonna be standing right next to Midnight. They're just gonna have too much long hair side by side. Daphne and Reserve Magnolia, you're crazy. Pretty sure Old Tier is the strongest 7-kin. That's factual, yeah. Arya was cool. I'd put Arya maybe like somewhere around here. Arya is a character I felt like he could be way higher if he had more to him. Like, he's like kind of like God Serena. Like, God Serena would be higher up if he had more to him. The reason I would put Arya above God Serena is he had more of like a first moment, and like him showing up had more of an impact on what was going on. Monsieur Soul, this dude is low C. Like, he's probably, I'm gonna put him below Genma. Like that dude, he's the most forgettable out of the Element 4 for Phantom Lord, I would say, for sure. Like, he had probably the least amount of screen time. He didn't have like a fight with the main character. He only had a couple of spells. I figured he would have been more frequent, because like Mishima always has a silly member of those groups, and he likes the silly character. So it was surprising, really, when you think about it, that he ran through them so fast. Because, like, think of all the time he's, like, gave more attention to Kane Hikaru, to Franmoth, to Hot Eye, to Jacob, to Mimi. He gave, like, more attention to Mimi than he did to Monsieur Soul. Agil, I've always liked Agil. I've actually always liked him. I always thought that he was a neat character. His initial design, his concept design, having the magic lamp, I was so bad Mishima kept that magic lamp and he had like a genie somehow integrated into his power system. That would have been sick. Ultier beat Zeref. Zeref wasn't at full power. Like, she was fighting a Zeref who had no real control over himself. I think Indy will return with the Ignia fight. I mean, we already saw like that. There's no way that the version that we saw fight Mercephobia was not E&D influence. Like, it was like Dragon Force and his Aetherius powers. Like, did you not see like the similar traits they had between them? Silver S tier? I don't know about S tier. Rax, where will Jacob sit in the Spriggan 12? Jacob's like one of the lower Spriggan 12, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, let's do Silver. Where's Silver at? Silver, I wouldn't put Silver at S. I personally, I would say Silver probably around here, like upper A, because he was very confined to the stuff going obviously on with Gray. Like, he could be S if we saw more of him. Like, if we saw more of his missions, like killing people and like seeing his moments from them, like we just saw more from his side, he could have definitely been more of a, like, way more of an antagonist. Because the thing about Silver, I won't go any much to him if there's people, like, I know Bud, I don't know if Bud's still here, I don't want to give much for spoilers, but like Silver wasn't brainwashed. He did all of that at his own accord, but he just came to a point when he realized, like, how much blood have I spilt, kind of thing. Like, he just realized, like, I am in so deep, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Agile teaching Max, I really like that too. That was one of my favorite parts of that arc. That was like one of my very favorite chapters of 100 Years Quest, just because it was a really good moment for both the worlds, like this moving story from characters not just in the main cast. I really like seeing that, and it definitely gave some nice credit to Agil as well. Oh, it's he's voiced by the same dude as Kaiba? That's pretty sick. I didn't know that. Actually makes me pretty happy. That dude's a badass. Let's do Wall. Wall, I definitely want to place pretty high. I liked Wall. I would say Wall is like the pinnacle for like B. Because Wall, at least as of right now, Wall was really cool in his magic. He was really cool in his display. He was an intimidating bad guy. We saw him like get ready to shoot somebody from freaking 400 miles away. Or 400 kilometers away, rather. Like, he just was an absolute, like, show-off right when he got in. He was a bit crazy. He was way more about, like, kind of, like, analytical and, like, looking at it like a war machine kind of thing, almost. He can rewrite his personality for his opponents. Wall was sick. I love Wall's design. Damari got nerfed, to be honest. She didn't get... How'd she get nerfed? Nothing that she did got nerfed. She went up against somebody absurdly more powerful than her. Demaria... Yeah, I can probably put Demaria somewhere around like A. Demaria's pretty cool. I'll put her like right here. Demaria's pretty cool. She's definitely somebody that, like, as a very beloved character. She's got a pretty good fan base. She's got like a high level of general presence going on in the arc. Like, she never kind of seemed like way in the back. Someone like Nineheart, really, Nineheart just had the one part he's in. Like, Demaria came back and still got more of a role. Because Nineheart had his thing with, like, Irene, but really he just kind of became a tool for Irene. Where else am I? Alderaan. Alderaan, I'd put Alderaan at A. I really like Alderaan. I'll put Alderaan here. The thing I like about Alderaan, because I do look at them in context of, like, where the characters are and, like, why they're like this in the story. Alderaan is, like, he's one of the dragons that were anti-human, and we see that done really well into showing their perspective. He just sees dragons are the pinnacle. Humans are so inferior to them. They have no, like, they can do what they want, but they are still sustenance, their food. Like, they have to kind of, like, step in line for the needs of dragons, and his avatar really showed a lot about him as well, because, you know, having the crown, that's a form that he takes himself. He chooses what he's going to look like. So it tells you a lot about how he sees himself and how he sees, like, and how it kind of, like, relates towards, like, humans and dragons and stuff. And I thought that was really cool. He was just badass in design, his, like, dragon form and his avatar. His powers work really cool. Because the god seeds are sort of their own character, but they're all just part of him. They're all part of his body. It's really interesting. Yeah, I put Alderaan pretty high up there. I really liked Alderaan. He's kind of like Animus. Let's grab Animus too. Animus is of a similar nature, but he's like Alderaan but B rank. I'll put him above Wall because I did like him more than Wall. I would say, like, a little bit more, just because obviously how he relates to dragon lore. Like, Alderaan is the tier higher version of Animus, I think, is the best way to really kind of look at that. In reality, like, obviously the context and stuff of events are different. I mean, both of them took a humanoid form, where they kind of, like, you know, pretend to be king. Different for Animus, obviously, with context, but similar in how they just kind of, like, viewed themselves and depicted themselves. Easel, Easel's pretty cool. I mean, Easel was neat. He was a little bit less than God Serena, not really getting much, but still being cool. I'm glad 100 Years Quest has kept the Spriggans involved. I like that they have some existence in it. Leopold washes forth Edalus Natsu. No, he doesn't. What does Leopold do to Edalus Natsu? Throw a fireball at him? Kind of thought Alderaan was kind of... You don't like Alderaan? I loved Alderaan. I thought he was so cool. He was this old-fashioned dragon. He didn't believe in anything towards the humans, and he wanted nothing more than to move to the point where he can get back to ruling over them and using them for food. He is like the highest we were going to see for that style of like from that faction of dragons, from that way of thinking. I would have really loved to see some flashbacks with him, because, like, it's interesting from the way he thinks, and the fact that the person that was defeating him that he had to run and hide from was a human. It was Acnologia, and I really want to see some flashbacks with the dragon gods to see, like, from their perspective what it was like to experience Acnologia, like Acnologia active, literally going around everywhere and killing all these dragons. Zora's voice actor is going to be in the My Hero movie. Who does he play? Suzaku's telling Celine are the enemy humans. This is really cool. Yeah, like, because the humans caused a lot of problems. Obviously, the dragons were involved in it as well. Alderaan was thick. He was definitely thick. I was just wondering, how does Elysiria Wall thing with the dragons? his weird big mural portal thing is really suspicious. Irene S tier for being Irene. Yeah, let's just get that one out of the way too. Like Irene, obviously, Irene being like one of the favorites in the series. Like Irene was really sick. I'd probably put Irene. Irene like in the same kind of area as like Mard Gear. Really is pretty much the best you can and really do. Probably a little bit higher to be perfectly honest. Like, let me think, because like her stuff now, like everything that she's getting additional is still good, but it's like she's not an antagonist anymore. Like I feel like with how much Mishima likes Irene, if she had a dedicated arc, she would probably be higher up. Whereas like I fully think Celine will pass Irene by the time her arc's over. Let's go. We still got some small people here. Fidalis Taka, he's like C. He's like barely above people like Hughes. Like he's right here. He's okay. He's entertaining. As well as like let's look at Totomaru. Totomaru like C. Like he's okay as well. Nothing really crazy about him. Let's just see, how many more small? Panther Lily. Panther Lily was okay. Something probably around the same with Juvia because we know that he was actually a really good guy. I don't think Racer. Racer's okay. I always liked Racer actually, so I'll give him like a pretty good spot. We're just gonna get down some like the smaller characters that there's not a lot to kind of go over. Yeah, I'll put him right here. He was pretty neat. Rex, do you think Natsu fight Ignia multiple rounds? I'm hoping so. I really want to see Ignia's territory and what his people would be like. I'm fully expecting some form of tournament style fighting, just because like the way he is, obviously he's gonna value fight. He's gonna be value fighting a lot. I'm actually gonna take the Nineheart one out of there, just because I want to give Nineheart some credit. I'm gonna move him down a little bit too. I feel like Nineheart's in a little bit of a generous spot. I think that's good. Kagura was pretty cool. I think Kagura did a really good job for her, like her spot. She's kind of like Leon, where she wasn't evil, but she was still an antagonist. Urza's birth explains her power, honestly, being in the 400 years. We need to figure out if that's actually a factor or not. Persona 3 guy, he was Koga in the Bleach movie. That's cool. Great Demon King Natsu should be S tier. I don't know about that one. Eidos Gaji is my favorite anime-only character. Yeah, he's pretty funny. Kanekaru. Kanekaru is actually pretty entertaining. But on top of that, his magic is actually pretty useful. I would probably put him around like Hot Eye, maybe a little bit more. Let me think. Probably somewhere around here. Because like he's actually pretty competent when he's trying. He's like Ichiya, where he's goofy, but there's a degree of his goofiness that if he can get past, he's actually a pretty threatening dude. Suzaku. Let's get Suzaku. Suzaku, obviously being like the newest active guy, like he immediately showed up and started like putting in the work. Like he not even just talking about like his encounter with Ursa and Natsu, but like the whole thing with the Sumeaka, where he just didn't even get up. You just see like his blade slightly come out and then resheath, and they're all slashed up. Dude's a badass. He's really cool. His magic is cool. His design is really cool. I would put him probably up here already. Let me actually give him a good spot. I'd probably put him up here already as an antagonist. Just from power and just from his display, he's already this high up. Because like he's not like gonna be a bigger villain. He's like an antagonist right now just because of a misunderstanding. Just from that alone, like the displays that he's done since then. Really good. I'll put him a little bit lower, like just because like Animus has a lot of actual character backstory that makes him like where he's at. Ignia has high potential. I really want to see Ignia and like just what he's capable. If he's at least above Zenkro, I'd say. Let me see. Like right now, he's already got such a level of threat to him. Like, he is weird because we know that he's going to be a bigger character. He's done a lot so far, but he doesn't have a lot in total. Like his level of just what he's done from him showing up is already, like, a good amount to go off of, but it's not, like, we don't have a lot of that instance. Like, the next time Ignia probably shows up, we're going to get a lot of really good characters, just content and stock that's going to show that, you know, his role is way bigger than what would normally probably get from than just a normal character. Like he's like how you can have a villain group and there's like something like the Spriggan 12, but like half the Spriggan 12 are more powerful or are more relevant to the story. Like you have Demaria and Brandish, but Brandish is way more important to like the story because of her connections with like her mom and Layla and stuff, and clearly being a reoccurring or way more reoccurring character. That's kind of like what I'm expecting Igni is for the Dragon Gods. Easel was pretty or sorry, not Easel. Torafusa was cool. Probably somewhere around like the upper areas as well. Like he was neat, nothing too crazy, but he was a solid, good shark dude. He was about the same as like Tempesta. Tempesta definitely had the better first showing, I'd say. Obviously, like going against Laxus. Same thing with Sayla. Sayla, like a lot of the thing about Tartarus that was really good is that they had a lot of pretty consistent opponents. They had like none of the 9 demon gates were boring. They were all really cool, and then the ones that were obviously more important had a lot more value going on to them that made them like really enhance. Any of the ones that had more character to them really got enhanced. Like they got a lot of just general content to them. Somewhere like Kyoka, I definitely would put in A tier because she has a lot. We know a lot about like how she thinks and acts as a character, and there's some really good just general character testing moments. That part when she explains how linking up the face it will kill her when it goes off, and then Bard Gears like it's like, okay, are you afraid to die? Kind of just like really questioning her dedication, and then she kind of like she hesitated for a moment, then like steeled her soul, and I kept moving forward. That was really cool. I thought that was a really good short moment for her. Like you can have characters not be around like a ton and still give them like really selective character development moments that would improve upon him. I mean, look at like when Mard Gear was like talking about how he would like understand Kyoka's fascination with human after really interacting with them for a while. Top 6 Spriggan. Might have to be in for another video, man. The final villain of Fairy Tail will always be Ankh-Srom. I hope so. I think the white mage is the final antagonist. I don't know about that. I feel like Ankh-Srom logically is the end villain. Who do you believe might be the final antagonist of the 100 Years Quest? Either a secret extra dragon god or Elefsaria. Georg could definitely be one if it's not Ignia. Because like Ignia right now, logically, like Ignia from a logical standpoint is like who would be set for the final villain, just because of like his importance to Natsu and stuff. But I feel like there's going to be another one, because the thing about like the dragon gods is they're all based off of the luminary days, and we have 5 of them. But there's 7 days. So they're missing the Earth Day and the Sun Day. And I think the Sun Day is going to go to Natsu. Because Natsu's name meaning summer. How fire can go to heat. Heat being the sun. You can have like a way that really works. Natsu's also like Sunday's the first day of the week. Natsu was the first dragon slayer that we ever saw. And then the Earth Dragon could be like a secret extra boss. If anyone joins Fairy Tail, it'll be Suzaku. I don't know if any of the Diablos members are going to join the Fairy Tail Guild. Whereas Keys, I didn't really care to include Keys. Like, Keys doesn't really have anything to him. He just kind of showed up. Kyria's like a solid B. I'd put her like right smack dab in the middle. Probably somewhere around like right here. She's got some cool moments. Nothing kind of crazy so far. Same thing with like Mad Mole. I'd probably put Mad Mole about the same area. Minerva, I definitely think Minerva should be at a pretty well placement, because like Minerva was on a really good path. Like if she kept doing that, kept climbing every arc, she could easily be in the A and maybe S tier, depending on like what Mishima could have done. But obviously she didn't get that. We got what, 6 more people left. Let's do another big one. Let's look at Acnologia. Personally, I feel like Acnologia A tier. Like Acnologia really like has such a good like impact on the series. His presence is overwhelming. Like he soloed the planet twice. His backstory is in a really good contrasting way to Natsu's. The only really downside to him is like his fight and his area in that final area of the series. Like it definitely was rushed a bit, and I'm hoping that they can figure out some way to improve upon it in 100 Years Quest. I don't really know if Mishima's going to, or like what he would do for that, but he's a badass. Like he's so cool. His lines, his presence, his design. Like, that part where he just kind of shows up, starts stomping on corpses, and, like, seeing his backstory in the anime of him just going on, like, dragon genocide. The dude's a badass. Invol's pretty good. I think Invol's definitely somewhere around there, like, with, like, Wall and, like, Brandish and stuff. Future Rogue... I like Future Rogue. I think he's pretty cool, but nothing amazing. Like, Future Rogue, to me... He is about the same as Jose. His is more in, like, the twist rather than, like, anything that much beyond him. Because we never saw, like, a whole lot with his with the events that turned him the way he is. Like, we don't know exactly we didn't see the full, like, events play out, and we didn't see, like, a flashback chapter or two that showed us the events. We know of it, and obviously the stuff with his shadow, but nothing too wild. Jacob. I like Jacob. Like I said, Mishima always has, like, that goofy guy in the group. But Jacob's is weird because, like, the Spriggan 12 were all really powerful. So he was the goofy one amongst, like, super powerful people. And it made sense, obviously, like, why. Like, his wasn't anything that crippled him. It just was something that made him uncomfortable. So I thought that was pretty funny. Ferris was actually pretty competent when she first rolled out. Like, legitimately. She was, like, taking down the guild. She was just kind of, like, taking command of people. She had, like, all these crazy plans. Like, I wonder what she was, like, gonna do if she got Alderaan. Like, what was her plan gonna be next? Was she just gonna go after Celine? And then the last person, Mercephobia. Mercephobia being not much of an antagonist. Like, he was an antagonist in the series, like, obviously, like, his display, but he himself as a person wasn't, like, a bad guy, but he was still really cool, and we just saw him as this monster, as this, like, uncontrolled animal. So I'd probably put him somewhere around Future Rogue, somewhere around, like, Joseph. Let me look at this list real quick, because he's definitely up there with, like, just being threatening, just being this monster. And I think this is pretty much it. I think this is a pretty good spot for him, too, because, like, him, like, at that point, was just this unbound, unstoppable, seemingly, like, creature that they had to have Ignis interference in order to take out. He's just this force that is so beyond the other, like, what the main cast was going to be putting out, that he shows that some characters, there's levels that you have to be careful and be aware of when you approach, and if you don't approach it properly and aware, then you're gonna get mauled. Vera's personality seems so different now that she's an Ellen tier. Yeah, she's definitely calmed down. She's gotten out of, like, her whole, like, dedication to Whiteout, like how like lost in it she went. Europe seems quite the threat after Madam, especially with the Suzaku set in Chapter 86. I really want to know if he's got multiple types. So if not, Acnologue get together, Nightmare Fuel itself. Acnologue, he's just genocide. Like, he just wants genocide. Kind of wish Acnologue didn't die during the first series, and he's a big part of 100 Years Quest. Well, the thing is, like, right now at least, so there's the theory that I had, if somehow that portal that Elefseri is doing is, like, leads to, like, the afterlife or something, some way to bring Acnologia back for whatever reason. But, like, you couldn't logically have the Dragon Gods active with Acnologia out, because he would have just shown up. Like, if there was, like, if the Dragon Gods were active, and then Acnologia was able to figure out where they were, like, he would completely just crash every event the main cast would have. Like, even if the dragons didn't come out of hiding. Like, for some reason, if they approached, he would just show up and he would demolish them. So, like, getting one shot by Elfman is kind of disappointing. I mean, yeah, but she got smacked in the back of the head. Like, that's once a vulnerable spot, and two, Elfman is actually very powerful. He's just slow. Elfman is we know that he's been able to throw punches with, like, Natsu and stuff. Like, he as a, like, his stats, like, being able to, obviously, like, him and Lizana together beating Agil, obviously having ways to counter his abilities and stuff, 2-on-1, pretty much compensating for their what both of them are weak for. But he's actually pretty strong. He's just slow. He's canonically slow. What about Ikusu Tsunagi? I wasn't going to include Ikusu Tsunagi in here. But anyway, other than that was pretty good. Definitely didn't seem as long as it could have been. I'm thinking about next time. Maybe next time we'll just take some of the villains. Like at some point, I want to do one where it's like my favorite series, and then get the antagonists. But that would be definitely an opinion based one. Like if I pull in people from like Black Clover, or pull in people from like Yu-Gi, like Merrick. You know, I can pull over like Mashl's got some guys running. It would definitely be something a while later. I want to have one where I can have more content on Celine. And then more content on some of the villains in other series. Just for example, obviously Megicula right now in Black Clover is doing a lot of moves, and I've really liked her so far. So I'm hoping to get more from her and to move her higher up on like my antagonist list. But yeah, definitely a later night stream. I'm glad for everyone for showing up and everyone that appreciate everyone that donated. I didn't know if I wanted to do it later at night, but I figured it'd be more fun that way. And yeah, I'm gonna get on those other videos this weekend, tomorrow, so look forward to those. I'll try and get my Dragon Slayer video out, like the White Dragon Slayer video went out for the one magic, or the one archive, and then I'll look into what I want to do next for those videos. So other than that though, thanks everyone for showing up, and I'll